Retirement isn't just where you live, it's how you live. A lot of people are quietly rerunning the math and choosing Spokane over places like Arizona or Florida. And today I'll walk you through what that looks like here. The climate trade-offs, actual housing costs, taxes and insurance, everyday lifestyle, healthcare, and staying close to family. By the end, you'll know if Spokane fits your next chapter. If you're new here, I'm Haydn, your Spokane real estate resource. My team, the Halsted Home Team, helps you move into, out of, or across Spokane, Washington. If you have a real estate need, use the contact info down below and we'd love to talk. So here's how this will look. We'll start with what you're trading, our 4 seasons versus hurricanes and 115-degree heat, and then we'll stack the pieces retirees tell me matter most. Home prices, taxes, the insurance curveballs, what daily life actually feels like, healthcare access, and travel to see kids and grandkids. I'll keep it simple and honest, and by the end of this video, you'll know if Spokane should be on your retirement list. So first up is climate and risk. What are you signing up for? If Florida is palm trees and prep days for storms, well, Spokane is 4 seasons and predictability. Summers land typically in the mid-80s most days. We do have our weeks of 90+ degree weather and a few 100 degrees here and there. Winters are very real but manageable. There's not a lot of winters where we have this excessive amount of snow. It typically comes and goes, and there's a lot of dry days throughout the winter. The biggest thing that we need to manage is the number of cloudy days that we have during the winter. We have as many cloudy days typically as Seattle. We're just not as rainy as they are over there. But the worst that typically happens is a few snow days here and there and some smoky weeks in the late summer. We're not prepping our houses for hurricanes, no evacuation kits, things like that. Now, if you're from LA or San Diego, the weather there is literally perfect, and there's very few places in the world that have better weather than there. But you're going to be sacrificing that for cost of living, which we'll touch on here shortly. But many clients that we've been meeting with from the Phoenix area have been coming here in the middle of the summer when for us it's very hot, and for them it's like it's just mild. It's like the fall basically when it's like 85, 90 because it's 110 for 100 days or more there. And they're basically trading a few months of staying inside for the cold winter versus almost half of the year staying inside in the AC, because a lot of people don't even go outside in the summer in Arizona because it's so hot. So if the climate feels right, the next question is always, can we actually afford it here? Well, right now, Spokane home prices sit around $420,000. And even if we look at Liberty Lake, the average home price there, even though there are many luxury properties, is only in the high 500s. Put that close to Scottsdale, which could be in the high 700s to 800s. Naples, Florida is in the mid 600s. So that gap is where fixed incomes can start to breathe. But if those 600 to 700 ranges are your budget, which we are seeing a lot for our retirees coming from California and Arizona, that provides you so much variety in the Spokane area, from single level ranchers, very nice condos if that was something you were looking for, or excellent 55+ communities with great amenities, typically all within 15 to 20 minutes of everything that you would need, from errands, doctors, and the airport. So in regards to affordability, price is step 1, but what you keep after taxes matters just as much, if not more. So Washington has no state income tax, so that's easy to plan around for pensions and Social Security. Arizona runs a flat income tax, and Florida has no income tax as well, but introduces other costs we'll talk about next. But for 2025, a few things that Washington changed in regards to taxes will matter for your margins. The capital gains excise tax now has a top tier of 9.9% on the portion of gains over $1 million, first affecting 2025 returns. The estate tax exclusion is $3 million for deaths from July 1st to December 31st, and cities and counties may add a 0.1% sales tax for public safety if adopted locally. In regards to fuel, lawmakers also raised the state gas tax by 6 cents per gallon on July 1st, with automatic annual increases beginning next year. And separately, Washington's Climate Commitment Act is not a tax in statute, but it functions like one at the pump because fuel suppliers buy carbon allowances. And another thing I want to note is that Washington's Climate Commitment Act is not technically a tax, but it has been kind of acting like one because of how it's been impacting things like the pump and then impacting grocery prices and things like that. Fuel suppliers have to auction and buy carbon allowances in Washington state each quarter. And as the Washington state will remove the amount that they will auction out, the more that those will become worth because supply and demand. And so of course those costs are now being passed on to the consumer through gas prices, which we're seeing an increase in grocery prices as well because the cost of getting the groceries to the store is increasing as well. So recent estimates put this pass-through around the mid 40 cents per gallon range, and it moves with auction prices. That's on top of normal market factors and the traditional gas tax, and it helps explain why Washington has recently led the nation on pump prices. If you drive a lot, go to the lake, family visits, you'll just want to budget for this as well. So now that taxes feel relatively predictable, the bill that surprises a lot of people depending on where they move is homeowners insurance right now. It's really kind of a sneaky line item because a lot of folks eye Florida for the taxes, but then they get blindsided by the insurance. In many Florida metros, typical premiums could run anywhere from $8,000 to $11,000 per year for a standard home. Like, that is a significant amount of money for insurance if you can get it at all, because so many companies are pulling out of Florida right now. And Spokane isn't immune to insurance costs. We're in the West where wildfires are a factor, but you're generally nowhere near those Florida numbers. For a lot of retirees, that single difference can tip the scale. For an average home here in the Spokane area, there's very few reasons you would be paying over $2,000 a year for insurance on a pretty basic average home. So if the numbers are making sense for you, will you actually like living here? Let's talk about the lifestyle. It's slower, but it's not sleepy here in Spokane. Spokane definitely has a slower heartbeat in general, but it's not a golf cart bubble. You can spend your mornings on the Centennial Trail, go for a quick hike just 10 to 15 minutes from your front door, afternoon wine tastings all across town, and evening baseball at the Spokane Indians or a summer show in the park. And when the grandkids come, there are 76 lakes within about an hour. You can go kayaking in July, sledding in January, and I really feel like Spokane is a place that just feels grounded, has cute neighborhoods, local shops, space to breathe, and there's not this feeling of competition that I get in a lot of other places, which maybe is good in the younger parts of life as you're building in a career or something like that, but not something necessarily you want in the later portion of life. So now I have a lot of people ask me how the healthcare is here in the Spokane area, and Spokane is the medical hub for Eastern Washington, North Idaho, and even parts of Western Montana. Providence Sacred Heart is a large regional hospital. We have the Mann Grandstaff VA for the veterans, Kaiser clinics around town, and a new multi-care Kootenai Medical campus underway in Post Falls. So typically, if you're living within the city or within 10 minutes of the city, there would be no reason you couldn't make it to a hospital within 30 minutes or less. And so I know that this matters almost more than any of the other items we've talked about so far. And then what if your family is spread around the Northwest or even across the country? Well, Spokane International offers 20 plus nonstop routes to Seattle, Portland, Boise, Salt Lake. Spokane International Airport is super easy to get through. I typically leave my house maybe 20-30 minutes before boarding starts of my flight. We have 20 plus nonstop flights throughout the Northwest. You can get down to Dallas, multiple California stops, Chicago, Atlanta. And so it just makes traveling to and from, especially the west side of the United States, very easy. If you do have to get to the east side of the United States, it's typically a full day of travel. And a lot of people feel like Seattle is super far away, but it's about a 4.5-hour drive if you had to make it over there as well. So we just met with a couple that's planning on moving up here next year in 2026 from California, and they'll have kids in California still. We'll have one kid here in Spokane, and then they have family on the East Coast, and they felt like Spokane was a good compromise of being able to travel where they needed to very easily. So the biggest objections I hear is the winters are too cold, but they're not too bad, and most folks settle into the rhythm by year 2. Plus, it's when you start to travel to Mexico or southern United States in the winter to get a few weeks of sunshine, and you just plan a fun trip in January when you're not doing anything in Spokane anyway. Secondly, people get concerned it's too small. The metro sits right under 600,000. It's big enough for most amenities, small enough to feel like a human and not just a cog in the wheel. And then some people might be concerned or not even looking at Spokane because there's no beach, but there's 76 lakes within an hour, and you should check out this video right here of a property that I just showed last week that literally had the lake 40 steps from the back door with steps into the water and a boat dock right off the back. So you can find a beautiful property on water if you want it. So Spokane trades extremes for balance, steady costs, real seasons, access to care, and a lifestyle that invites you outside. So if you're retirement curious about Spokane, download my Spokane relocation guide with links down below. And if you want to run the numbers, talk about your specific situation, I would be more than happy to walk you through it, whether you're visiting the Spokane area and want to come sit in this office with me and talk it over, or schedule a virtual one-on-one. Just use the contact info down below, and we would love to schedule that meeting with you. And if you found this video helpful, make sure to subscribe, like this video, share it with a friend, and we'll see you in the next one.